It's their turn. It's their turn.
That's the video.
Our local is their turn. But you said it's the local. My turn. But they are saying it's our turn.
Please be seated, please.
In Obi's voice.
Let me stand on all existing protocols and most sincerely thank the organizers of this event.
Yes.
Wonderful people.
Yes.
Some of whom are going to face many forgiveness today. So I thank the various presidents of various schools that are involved. I've told them there I'm applying for their job, and I hope they get it. Mine, I think I'll spend more time by thanking you for the sacrifice of being here this afternoon and being part of this process. I think I'm going to spend more time in interaction, so that after interaction I can make, because that don't make more meaning. What I'm going to tell you is probably telling you the same sad news you've heard about our country, Nigeria. So let me plead that I sit down with these presidents and the father, and maybe when they finish, I'll do my own little speech. I hope I agreed. Yes. So we do the interaction, the question asked. That will bring us a few comments we want to ask, as much as possible, cover a lot. I have been here waiting for the presidents for 1 hour, because they told me it has to start by 12 and they have to obey. So I was here on the dot. So let me just sit down, but I thank you, and I assure you that this afternoon will be worthwhile. I will make my comments at the end of the interaction. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you so much, first of all, for being with us and for doing this. I want to start us off and ask you about your personal background. It'd be great if you could share a little bit about your background, your family, your childhood. What values did your family instill in you? Were there defining points in your childhood that helped guide your interest in community, and business, and politics? You could start us there.
Well, as you know, my name is Mr. Peter Obi. I don't have any other titles. When they were reading my bio, they told you about my background when I was born, July 1961. I was born in Onitsha. It is my quote, primary. I had my primary school in Onitsha, St. Thomas Onitsha, and I went to Christ King College Onitsha, then after the University of Nigeria, Sudan. I was born in a very strong, call it Christian, but Catholic background, where I don't know, I always tell people that wherever I am today is due to the prayers of my mother and everything, because I was brought up with a background where you have to pray maybe 3 times in a day. You know, not actually just we go to church probably 2 times in a day. My immediate senior sister is the Reverend Sister. My immediate younger brother is the Reverend Father. So I'm tied between these two. where you have to just do everything right. Because you also have people in between to answer to, not just, I don't need to go far before sister says, why did you do this? And then father and sister say, why did you do this? So the only way to work is to ensure that I do the right thing. Because, and that was the background. And I lived in Nigeria when, of course, the name of your family is far more important. It's very important to you. They will ask you, whose child is this? Where you coming from, and everything. And this has guided me over life and to say that I have to do the right things. I have to live the right life and everything. And of course, I'm a trader. That's what I do. I lived in Norwich. If you live in Norwich, I grew up in a trading family. My parents, business people. My mother was a trader, my father was a trader, and I took to trading and I became a businessman. And that's what I do till today. My involvement in politics was rather it's a long story that I don't know how to attain, how to tell. I got involved in it out of how can we be here? And this is happening in my state. Schools were shut down for 2 years. People did not go to school. And I was doing a program in Kenya, which, like I said, for want of time, I'm not going to do. And I encountered the then dean of Kenya Primary School, Professor Donald Jacob, who convinced me that I should not be involved, I should get involved in building public wealth instead of building individual wealth. It's a long story, but he just said to me, if you continue to build public wealth and private wealth, everybody is poor. If you get involved in building public wealth, everybody is rich. And that's where you belong. Let me go and contest election to be governor of my state. The rest is not easy. Something nobody can imagine, but that's how I'm going to become in politics.
I think when we're studying business or law, many of the students and attendants are considering a career in politics. And you've made a very interesting transition from business to politics. What's some advice you have for students on making that transition, and what is something you wish you knew when you look back around about making that transition?
Well, my first advice is that that transition depends on which country you're transiting. Because some of you are going to be involved in politics here, so it's a different thing. If you're doing it in Africa, it's a different thing. Because you can transit into a trouble. So, for me, if you can start what you can call a meaningful career, have a good daytime job, have a second address you can go back to. Because politics in Africa is a little bit of an organized crime. And you find out that you're not strong. You get messed up and ruined. So you must be ready to be able to have people like Professor Tommy here who have been involved in it on and off. The reason why he gets better out of it is that he has a career as a respected professor of political economy. They can go back to teach. And if you don't have a career and you want to do it, and you get yourself messed up, you can't, you might not even be a victim, yet and yet become the criminal. because they are smart. So it's important that get a career, have a second address, have a place you can go back to. And then, and consider that it's not in Africa, it's not in Nigeria, it's not a pensionable job. Forget that people are creating pensions for themselves. It's not something you can say this is a career you can live for your life. It is difficult here. So that's my advice to those who want to get involved.
Thank you. So it took nearly, as you heard in the bio, it took nearly 3 years of intense legal battle to fully recognize your election as governor. I imagine the time between 2003 and 2006 when you took office took a tremendous amount of patience. Can you describe to the audience what that time was like? What were the conversations like with your attorneys? What were some of the behind-the-scenes challenges with your legal battle?
Well, for me, I can say I had a very strong, in terms of a business that's thriving, doing something that one can say I was earning living from. So what I was challenging, as at that time, was the rascality. I wanted to see the end of such rascality that somebody can win an election, because I received the majority of lawful votes cast in the election. And suddenly, somebody else was declared winner. And I'm just in the position I am today. I started this project in the year 2002. And I came to this America in 2002, contesting for governor. The election was 2003. And I just left PDP into a new party, just like I did now. And I contested the election. And they declared somebody else. And they said that is the end of it. That nobody had ever got into the court. So I went to court. So for me, what was important for me then is to challenge the wrong process. Because I believe that the process through which people arrive at any destination, especially in life, is far more fundamental than what they do while they're in office. If the process is wrong, whatever you do for me is wrong. So the process is important. So I was challenging the rascality of the process. And I would have stayed in that court for 10 years. I told the lawyer at the time, those two were worried. After 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, they said, listen, we'll stay here. I want to see the end of this. Because after it became the first time people said, okay, this will happen again.
Thank you for that. We want to transition to questions about the economy. The first question is, in your view, what is the most effective path forward for reducing poverty in Nigeria and mitigating ongoing regional inequities? A lot has been made of the role of oil and gas industry in driving the Nigerian economy. Can you speak a little bit to the efforts to diversify into tech and other non-oil sectors?
Well, quite frankly, the issue of reducing poverty is to pursue clear lines of measuring means of development. The greatest measure of development today is human development tools. And this is premised on 3 critical areas. One is the issue of life expectancy, which is health. Health says wealth, so you need to invest in it in order to keep your people healthy. Second is education. It improves that the human capital development is most critical asset to development. The more money you put into human capital development, the more you put in education, the better your development. So you need to invest in that. The third is the capital. So the more you put money, people, put people out of poverty, the more you reduce poverty. Today with the third one, which is always says critical that, and that comes to what they say, is to focus on investment in your micro, small, medium enterprise. It's a critical way. If you look at all over the world today, including America, the greatest employer of labor is this sector. But more importantly, in developing world, they're the greatest engine of development. If you use a country like Indonesia, today, over 80% of the job in Indonesia is created by this sector. If you go to a country like China, because I want to use the third world countries, I don't want to use the first world countries because I know where Nigeria belongs to. If you look at the third world countries, if you look at China, which everybody is using as an example today, 60% of Chinese GDP contribution is this sector. 60% of the jobs is this sector. It's assumed today that about 800 million Chinese people are working. So 540 million is this sector. Again, in terms of your exports, they are producing over 65% of the export and everything. So if you are talking about pulling people out of poverty, this is one critical area you need to invest and support. And these are where you have the tech companies, the small companies, because the young ones, people who are changing the world today are the young ones. And in Nigeria in particular, they have a mass and huge population in this age bracket. I don't think it is one of the things that I always say that if you want to turn around Nigeria today, if you move it from consumption to production and invest on the young ones, it will change the world. If you want to put people out of poverty. And the problem we face, if you reverse it, is because we have not invested in this critical sector. Because today you have about 33% unemployment. If you add the unemployment, it should be about 50%. And if you use the average that between 50 to 60% of the population is supposed to be working. Can you imagine the number that is not working? And out of this number that is not productive, are mainly the youth with their energy and talent. So they divert into something wrong, and that's why you have a problem.
You made an incredible point around the need to diversify economy as well as the Nigerian startups and the SMEs that the economy essentially would ride on. Nigerian startups raised the highest investment funding in Africa in 2021, about $1 billion. But according to our own Chamber of Commerce and Industry, we are one of the most hostile business environments in the world. And we're curious about what that means as far as regulatory changes. In the current setup, our businesses are surviving despite the environment instead of thriving because of it. So what meaningful regulatory changes do you think would be relevant to making a change in this environment?
There's quite a lot. One is for the government to understand the need to have a conducive regulatory environment. And the need, because we can't talk about today, I was involved in similar to this one, where somebody said, what are your priorities if we're elected tomorrow? And I said, it's very simple. First is security. The investor has to be alive. The investor has to be secure the place. After securing the place, we talk about law and order. These are two most critical intangible aspects. And you need to pursue them aggressively to show that you're committed to it. So, for me, these are intangible aspects that the government have to pay 24 hours attention to ensure that it's provided, supported, feasible, in order for you to start having your own local people having confidence to invest and then attracting the outsiders.
Thank you. We want to ask you about inflation. By July 2022, inflation in Nigeria has risen almost 19%, its highest levels over the past 5 years, creating a lot of downward pressure on the economy. Can you speak to what specific policies you believe will be effective and helpful in curbing inflation?
Well, since after the COVID, Nigeria is not peculiar when it comes to issue of inflation. It's been a very big problem globally, and especially in third world countries, the countries that are not producing enough, and it's worsened by even the war and everything. So, what are policies you're going to do? There's quite a lot of a combination of what I can call ensuring that you drive, especially the food inflation, driving more productivity in that area to be able to reduce the food inflation. And as you're doing that, it's going to affect the other areas. You have to put a lot of, for me, productivity. I will deal with inflation the way I will deal with the issue of rate of naira and everything.
Thank you.
Touched on this a little bit already, but I think people will be curious to hear some specificity around the topic of inflation. So you did mention there's a 3% inflation in Nigeria, which translates to roughly 23.2 million people. And in any country, this is of course is a cause for alarm, but in our country with such high rates of banditry and terrorism, there is truly fire on the mountain with 23 million unemployed people. So what can be done to specifically raise those employment rates, especially to attract youth to currently unattractive areas?
I've said in my business, I've said we need to move the country from consumption to production. Countries that measured by the productive capacity of our citizens, especially youth, not about the natural resources and everything. Today, the Nigerian nation is not productive. That's it. You need to make it productive. And that is what is affecting your unemployment, affecting the rate of your exchange and everything. And I give you an example because people have asked me, and I know it's not part of the question you asked me, but I need to bring it in. You were asking me, what are you going to do to stabilize Naira? I said, if you produce more and export more, you earn the foreign exchange and you stabilize your currency. What stabilizes currency is export and everything. And I give an example of what is happening. I think goes the issue of production. Today, I'll give a sample which is one of the states in Nigeria. A state like Niger State, some of you might not know Nigeria very well, but those who know it very well will know what I'm talking about. Niger State. Niger State is the largest state in terms of land mass, fertile land. Niger State is 76.3 thousand square kilometers of land, fertile land. But all their allocation, all their resources comes from the money that is being shared from the oil that is in Niger Delta. So that land contributes nothing to their revenue because of the consumptive life
Poor leadership.
of Nigeria. They share it instead of producing anything. A country like Netherlands, if you minus water, is about 33,000 square kilometers. That means Niger State is almost 2.5 times Netherlands. Netherlands total agricultural export last year was $120 billion.
Wow.
Niger State
Zero.
total revenue from
Zero.
the share of oil money is about 40 billion naira. Their budget is about 100 and something billion naira.
So
They
will
can't
borrow.
feed themselves, they can't feed Nigeria, and they don't export. But if they were able to feed themselves and they exported 1% of what Netherlands did with about 30 to 40% of their land, just 1%, it will be $1.2 billion, of which if you use the rate of exchange that is in the parallel market, is about 750 billion naira, which is 5 times their budget. But they're not doing it. So it's not productive. So you see the people looking for food, but they have food on the ground, which they're not taking. So that's what I'm talking about. So creating jobs, in order to make the people employed, in order to create jobs and employ the people, there's opportunities, vast opportunities that needs to
Harnessed. It's wasted.
put into production, and the people will be employed to do that, everything. So we're going to do a lot of, there's a lot of things you can do. We don't have power today. We generate, transmit and distribute about 4,000 megawatts of electricity for a country of 200 million people. That is a total mess. You can't do that. Another just example of another country, South Africa, the second biggest economy in Africa, 60 million people. They are generating about 50,000 megawatts. They're generating 4 megawatts. And in the past 3 weeks, they declared even emergency power and authorized that anybody can generate up to 100 megawatts without license. So you could see somebody with 50,000 declared emergency, somebody with 4,000. So when I'm there, I'm going to declare triple emergency. And the more you generate power, for every 1,000 megawatts of electricity you generate, it improves that you can add 1% to your GDP. And of course, if you're able to today do, which is my target, is to move from about 4,000 to about 12, 15,000. If you can do that, you can move your manufacturing, which hovers about 7% today in GDP contribution, to about 11. That alone will create a lot of jobs. So there's critical areas you need to invest if you must reduce unemployment. And these are known areas in everything that we have to do.
Thank you for that. I'd like to ask the audience for a quick second. How many of you all, within the past year, have sent money back home to family?
Today, I already sent money from here.
Last hour, last
I
week.
already sent money from here.
As you know, with $20 billion annually in remittances from members of the diaspora back to family in Nigeria ranks 6th in the world. In your view, are there economic risks to having such a large portion of GDP tied to remittances?
Well, this question comes up and I've been touring everywhere. That's why I said, let me not make a speech and do this one, but I didn't know it was going to. It's, for me, I'm even looking how to invest to double this. Everywhere I've been, the question is that, what do I do to reverse Nigerian brain drain? And I think it's a sort of worry. I said, no, it's good for the country. And people say, why? I said, the brain drain will be the brain gain. If you go and study the turnaround of most countries in Asia, it is those who left at a critical time that when you now have a good government that is doing the right thing, that came back and became the first investors.
There you go.
So, all people here are investors and targeting. California to Houston,
Bankers
to
and target.
Charlotte, to Atlanta, everywhere I go, I said to myself, I'm going to fix that place and bring this people back.
They all want to go back, but they want a good environment.
Right now, what they are doing is social welfare. That's what I want to stop. I want them to be invested. That money they are sending back, Nigeria does not receive up to 25% of the amount you mentioned as foreign investment. So I want this money to come back as an investment, not that they are doing social welfare for people to eat and do better. So he was making money and lived well, and his people were employed in the UK. But this money you mentioned now is not productive. So I want to turn it into production. We will educate, we will also invest in education and have more people than we need more.
So we
Okay. sorry.
Strategy for increasing investment for members of the Nigerian diaspora. In the U.S., there's been a lot of critique of China's investment and approach on the continent.
You have to give your contact.
What do you make of China's increased involvement and investment on the continent, just broadly? Do you have any criticisms or critique?
Well, I'm not criticizing anybody for coming to invest. I'm criticizing the method and style of investment.
Saves automatically.
The people I want to see to come and invest are Africans first to come and invest, because what it is that the investment we're getting from Asia, China, everywhere is more of not what it should be. I might not make another comment on that, but I'll show you. I want to replace it with investment coming from Africans.
That's right.
Thank you.
I think it's important for us now to transition a little bit into what you discussed as the number one priority for you, which is security. To your earlier point, the investor cannot come if he's not alive. And I think that that is very critical. But my question is actually security of Nigerians at home. And this is broadly around the 2020 NSARS movement, which reflected Nigerians' fear of their own police force and their lack of safety in their own land. And many would say that the key issue of police brutality in Nigeria is far from resolved. So how would you address the concerns that brought about NSARS to ensure a more accountable Nigerian police force?
Well, I made a comment when doing NSARS, and that is the comment I'm going to make. The police brutality is I can say, is a reflection of the brutality of the politicians. If the leader, the police is watching the behavior and the character of the leader.
Yes.
If the leader, I worked with police, I was governor for 8 years. No police can ever work with me, push to anybody. Go and ask my state.
Go and verify.
No police or security followed me into a church.
Yes.
So they look at the behavior and the character of the leader, and they behave the same way. So if the leader is law abiding and behaves well, we live in a system where bad behavior and rascality
Is rewarded.
became a measure of being successful or powerful. So police joined the same rascality and bad behavior. So if I come here and pushing people, some people falling down, then they know that one big man is passing.
That's right.
Otherwise, if everybody is standing up, then there's something wrong. So it is a measure, you need to deal with it. It's the character of the society. And you can start changing it, start educating them, start employing people, teaching them good behavior, character, how to talk, and make police and agencies of the law to see themselves as members of the society who are supposed to contribute to building a better society rather than terrorizing the society.
Thank you. So Nigeria has several security challenges for over a decade, specifically from Boko Haram and other terrorist groups, both within and near the country. You would agree that it's impossible for the country to function without security, as you mentioned. How would you develop and strengthen security forces to defend Nigeria from terrorist attacks and widespread bigotry?
Well, I might not say everything because of the security issue, but let me assure you, and I said everywhere, we will deal with security issue very, very precisely. There's so many insights you can take. I have governed the state and I had a security problem when I came to the state. And you can go and ask what happened.
Go and verify.
Two people cannot run a state at the same time. It's either there's a state or the non-state actor. One person will be on the stage. But if there's a state, the state has to use all its resources to secure its people. That's their number one job. The number one job of the society, the state, the country is to secure citizens. And you have to use every resource. You have to do that.
Papa, Mama, Piki.
People want to transition quickly into education and government. And I'm excited to ask this question because I know education was one of your areas of success as governor of Anambra State. But Nigeria as a country is currently underinvesting in education. As of August 2022, federal universities have been closed and on strike for 6+ months.
9 months.
And our government spending as a total budget, as a total percentage of our budget is 5%, which is extremely low compared to global averages of 14%. So what needs to be done on a national level to make us globally competitive as far as education is concerned?
Well, it's for you to understand first what is educational. Education is not, when you do expenditure on education, it is not, you can't see it as an expenditure, it's an investment. When you put money into education, you are investing in tomorrow. Because like I said earlier, the more you invest in education, the better you become. Because it will drive your development measure up. It will help to increase your per capita. So unless you see education as an investment, you would appreciate why you should invest more in it. It is not even, I'm not worried as much as the low investment, as I'm worried that even that low one is not properly channeled into the education. I'm the government, and one of the issues we dealt aggressively was the issue of education. That again is for you to verify. We moved education from number 26, 27 to number 1. And we didn't change. It was not just increasing yes, we increased the investment, but what was more important that we increased the supervision. We made sure that the monies we budgeted was properly invested. I was just speaking to some people before I came down here. I said, we are what we call UBEC at the center. UBEC gives us money as a state. That money goes to local government, who then gives it to school. So I said to them, so this you are federal government, you are state government, I'm local government, she's the school. So this money goes from him to you, to me, and her. And I said, why can't this money go from here to here? The more this money transits, the lesser it becomes. So, I removed that transit. All those tokens were removed. And me and you started complaining, oh no, now we are supposed to supervise that. And the money was passed through us, so we know whether he spends it right or wrong. I said, no, we can still do it. Our job is supervision. Just give her the money. will supervise them. And that made all the difference. Because the money became more effective. Because we're not getting anything from it, our supervision became more professional. Because we're no longer part of it. So we don't want this person to equally chop anything. So it's a simple thing. If that little one, we want it to be invested properly, and then we can grow it. Is Nigeria invested enough in education? No. Our last 5-6 years investment in education.
Rubbish.
Past 6 years. I think it should be from 2015 to 2021.
Since APC.
Our investment in education is about 4.7 trillion. What's that mean? Which, if you translate it to, it is not up to South African investment in education for 1 year.
Imagine.
South Africa is 60 million, we're 200 million. So it's a crisis situation. However, these are issues we need to deal with because we don't have enough revenue as a country because we have mass poverty. Because people who are poor can't pay tax. The people who are productive can't pay you. So you need to inject and create production and employment to be able to get revenue. So it's a movement.
With a host of languages, religions, hundreds of ethnic groups, how do you envision and what is your plan to unify the country to make sure that Nigeria remains one?
Well, ethnic group is all over the place. There's no place that is in one ethnic group or where there's no diverse people, even in America. There is all over the world. It is the job of the leader to bring everyone to the table. It is the job of the leader to dialogue, to consult, to do this. A leader does not say, oh, because this person is agitating,
5%.
or this person wants to go away, let them go away. No, agitation is part of life. People disagreeing is part of life. It's a question of how you manage that relationship. I have agitation in my family. There's a time I have 2 young ones, they're graduates. There's a time they disagree with me. And I say, please, 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 because I don't want them to. So we discuss it. I have agitation. I disagree with my wife. That's agitation. And we settle it. You know? So even for you who are young ones, whom some of you are still going to settle down, it is not in your relationships, boyfriend, girlfriend, they're quarrel. Then you settle it. That's the same thing in dealing with ethnic issues. You dialogue, you discuss, you show tolerance of each other. Not that they said, oh, he's agitated, bro, we must get rid of him. Oh, he doesn't disagree, no. And then when you're doing things, be fair. Once you're fair and just, you reduce
Agitation.
A big part of your campaign and public discussions have been about anti-corruption. And I want to read you a quote from the Council of Foreign Relations about Nigeria. For now, the moral compact of Nigerian corruption subsists as follows. Government pretends to fight corruption. Nigerians pretend to take the government seriously. So in a country so mired in graft and corruption, it was seems at every level, including the funnel of funds you just explained to us, how do you plan to bring an end to corruption in a different way than what every other person has said and happened to not do?
Well, issue of corruption can be dealt with decisively. As maintained consistently. If the local government chairman, the governor, the president is not corrupt, so he's not stealing. His family is not doing that. Go and check all corrupt leaders. It's either them, their family, or their relations. If you remove these three, you reduce it by 70%. Because how does corruption work? He is the president. For example, you are the minister, or you are the wife of the president. I'm the minister. So the president has his own, then the wife has his own children, then I add my own. Every other person has their own. Because they know that when it comes back to you, you must approve it. Because everybody's own is included. But if you decide not to be involved, it will be difficult for anybody. The fear will be there. And you can also have a mechanism to check, to ensure that whoever does it doesn't go through the process of rule of law. So it's not something that you tolerate at all. And again, I said to people, I was governor for 8 years. The day I left office as governor, I was not going pension. I was not going gratuity.
We already
I
verified.
was not going gratuity. I was not going salary. I was not going every supplier who has supplied goods to us. I was not going any contractor. And I had 3 banks in Nigeria, which are namely Access Bank, Diamond Bank, and Fidelity Bank.
Still exists.
I had in each of these banks, for the Anambra State, I saved in each $50 million, 12 billion.
Already verified.
Is there? Today you can go, everybody knows that I'm the only person who has saved money as a sub-national. And this is in line with my own belief. If you go and read Ngozi Wala's book, Fighting Corruption is Dangerous.
Yes.
It was when he was fighting corruption that the mother was kidnapped.
Yes.
If you read it, Fighting Corruption is Dangerous, go to page 61. When she wanted to save money, every governor in Nigeria as at then was asked to comment whether we should save money or not. What we are doing today, Ngozi would have solved it. She was crying and begging that we save the money that was then in our SS food account, and that she can increase it if you give her authority. All the governors were against it.
Go to me and make
And she said it there. Governor Peter Obi, who supported saving, was not supported by his colleagues. It's there, page 61. But I said, so go ahead. So you can find corruption. I'm an ex-governor today. Anambra State have never bought me this water. There was no law to ban in a place where all other my colleagues are doing. They do this, no plot of land. Go and so if you go to Anambra
leaders and citizens. Many times in our democracy, once a president is elected, the conversation between citizens and government leaders ceases. What is your plan when you're elected, if you're elected, to make sure that you're communicating with the people? In America, we've seen former presidents have an affinity for Twitter. I'm curious what your communication style and approach will be once elected.
Again, I will always be taking you back to what I did before. When I became governor of Anambra State, the budget, the planning, the budget, the execution was supply driven. So I said to the people, no, it has to be demand driven. We have to go to the people. I was touring every local government in Anambra State at least once every 6 months. I was everywhere. I slept in all the local governments, even when they're 30 minutes away from the capital. I slept in people's houses. In fact, I'll tell you one of the things that people still remember today. We once planned a retreat, and I asked my commissioners to go and look for the best hotel in the country where we are going to go for a retreat. And everybody agreed. And I went and looked for, there was one in New York, the beautiful hotel there. You know, in New York, there was one in New York, I remember, you might not know all these places. Beautiful places, Abuja. They came with all the suggestions. So we agreed. On a Friday, I said we are entering vehicle, we are going to the airport so we can fly out. I drove everybody to Abilene. I said, that's where we are going to have our retreat. Because that is the one that is in this state. You cannot be going to another place to go and do retreat when this one here. And now we were there for 3 days. And then we go, oh, yeah, this one is not good, there's too much, there's this, that, I say, wait for me. That is what is in our here. Let's stay with it. What am I trying to say? We will ensure we interact with people. It's critical. And interacting with people is very important because you need to learn. Learning, listening, and leading is inseparable. Once you stop learning, you stop listening, then you're finished. A leader does not know everything. Anybody that knows everything is an idiot.